Question 1. A project manager is initiating a new complex software development project. One of the first crucial steps is to identify all individuals and groups who will be affected by the project or who can influence its outcome. What is the primary output of this initial identification process? A. Stakeholder engagement plan. B. Project management plan. C. Stakeholder register. D. Communication management plan. Answer: C. Stakeholder register. The stakeholder register is the primary output of the Identify Stakeholders process, serving as a comprehensive list of all identified stakeholders, along with relevant information such as their roles, interests, influence levels, and contact details. This initial documentation is crucial because it forms the foundation for all subsequent stakeholder analysis and engagement activities, ensuring no critical party is overlooked. For example, failing to identify a key regulatory body early could lead to significant project delays later. Always remember that comprehensive identification is the first step towards effective stakeholder management. Question 2. During project execution, a key stakeholder expresses strong resistance to a new feature, despite it being a critical requirement. The project manager needs to address this resistance effectively to maintain project progress. Which of the following approaches is generally most effective for managing resistant stakeholders? A. Escalating the issue to the project sponsor for immediate resolution. B. Ignoring their concerns and proceeding with the planned feature delivery. C. Engaging in active listening to understand their underlying concerns and involving them in finding a solution. D. Documenting their resistance and presenting it to the Change Control Board. Answer: C. Engaging in active listening to understand their underlying concerns and involving them in finding a solution. The most effective approach for managing resistant stakeholders is to first understand the root cause of their resistance, which is best achieved through active listening and empathetic engagement. By truly hearing their concerns, the project manager can then involve them in crafting solutions or compromises, fostering a sense of ownership and increasing their buy-in. For instance, a stakeholder resistant to a new system might fear job displacement, which a collaborative discussion could clarify and address through training or role adjustments. Remember, addressing concerns collaboratively builds trust and reduces ongoing resistance. Question 3. A project manager is conducting a stakeholder analysis and is using a power/interest grid to classify stakeholders. Which category represents stakeholders who should be kept satisfied, despite having low interest in the project outcomes? A. High power, high interest. B. Low power, high interest. C. High power, low interest. D. Low power, low interest. Answer: C. High power, low interest. In the power/interest grid, stakeholders categorized as high power, low interest should be kept satisfied, meaning their potential to influence the project, due to high power, needs to be acknowledged, even if they don't actively participate or show much interest. These stakeholders, like a busy CEO who can approve or deny significant budget changes, might become problematic if their needs are ignored. The project manager should provide them with sufficient, concise information to ensure their contentment without overwhelming them with details. Always tailor your communication strategy to their position on the grid. Question 4. An agile project team is struggling with a product owner who frequently changes priorities and provides inconsistent feedback, leading to rework and demotivation. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master, or project manager in an agile context, to take to improve stakeholder engagement and team morale? A. Document all changes and present them to senior management for intervention. B. Strictly enforce the initial sprint backlog and decline all new requests. C. Facilitate a discussion with the product owner and the team to clarify roles, expectations, and communication channels. D. Implement a formal change control process to limit the product owner's influence. Answer: C. Facilitate a discussion with the product owner and the team to clarify roles, expectations, and communication channels. In an agile environment, clear communication, roles, and expectations are paramount for effective collaboration and stakeholder engagement. When a product owner provides inconsistent feedback or frequently changes priorities, the most appropriate action is to facilitate a direct conversation between the product owner and the team to address the underlying issues, such as clarifying the product owner's vision, prioritizing mechanisms, and preferred communication cadence. This collaborative approach, typical in Scrum, empowers the team and the product owner to agree on sustainable ways of working, rather than resorting to punitive or bureaucratic measures. Remember, transparency and open dialogue are cornerstones of agile stakeholder management. Question 5. A project manager discovers a new group of external stakeholders late in the project's execution phase who have significant influence and will be impacted by the project's output. What is the first step the project manager should take regarding these newly identified stakeholders? A. Immediately implement a formal change request to revise the project scope. B. Update the stakeholder register and perform a stakeholder analysis to understand their impact and interests. C. Inform the project sponsor and key internal stakeholders about the oversight. D. Issue a risk warning and prepare for potential project delays. Answer: B. Update the stakeholder register and perform a stakeholder analysis to understand their impact and interests. When new stakeholders are identified at any stage of the project, the crucial first step is to update the stakeholder register with their information and then perform a thorough stakeholder analysis. This systematic process helps the project manager understand their needs, expectations, potential influence, and preferred engagement methods before deciding on any further actions, such as scope changes or risk mitigation. For example, identifying an unaddressed regulatory body late in a construction project would require assessing their specific compliance requirements before making project adjustments. Always ensure new stakeholders are formally documented and understood before reacting. Question 6. The project team has successfully completed a significant project milestone, and the project manager wants to communicate this achievement to key stakeholders. Which document would be most helpful in determining the appropriate communication method and frequency for various stakeholders regarding project progress? A. Risk Management Plan. B. Quality Management Plan. C. Communication Management Plan. D. Resource Management Plan. Answer: C. Communication Management Plan. The Communication Management Plan is the essential document that defines how, when, and by whom project information will be administered and distributed to stakeholders. It outlines the specific communication requirements for different stakeholder groups, ensuring that milestones, progress, and important updates are delivered effectively and appropriately. For instance, the plan might specify that the project sponsor receives weekly executive summaries, while team members get daily stand-up updates. Relying on this plan ensures consistent and targeted communication, preventing both over-communication and under-communication with key stakeholders. Question 7. A project manager is leading a complex global project with stakeholders located in various time zones and cultural backgrounds. The project manager needs to ensure effective communication and build strong relationships. Which of the following is the most important consideration for tailoring communication strategies in this scenario? A. Using only formal, written communication to avoid misinterpretation. B. Relying primarily on video conferencing for all interactions to maximize face-to-face time. C. Understanding and adapting to the cultural norms, communication preferences, and technological capabilities of each stakeholder group. D. Limiting communication to critical updates only to avoid overwhelming stakeholders. Answer: C. Understanding and adapting to the cultural norms, communication preferences, and technological capabilities of each stakeholder group. Effective stakeholder engagement in a global project requires a deep understanding and adaptation to diverse cultural norms, communication preferences, and technological capabilities of each stakeholder group. Simply using formal written communication or relying solely on video conferencing can be ineffective if it doesn't align with local customs or available technology. For example, in some cultures, indirect communication might be preferred over direct confrontation, or reliable internet might not support frequent video calls. Tailoring your approach shows respect and significantly enhances the likelihood of successful communication and relationship building. Question 8. During a stakeholder engagement review meeting, several critical stakeholders expressed dissatisfaction with the frequency and content of project reports. They feel uninformed about key decisions and progress. What should the project manager do first to address this issue? A. Immediately increase the frequency of all project reports and add more detailed information. B. Document their complaints and escalate the issue to the project sponsor. C. Schedule individual meetings with the dissatisfied stakeholders to understand their specific communication needs and expectations. D. Remind them to refer to the communication management plan for information. Answer: C. Schedule individual meetings with the dissatisfied stakeholders to understand their specific communication needs and expectations. When stakeholders express dissatisfaction with project reports, the most effective first step is to engage directly with them to understand the specific root causes of their concerns. Rather than guessing or making blanket changes, individual meetings allow the project manager to gather detailed insights into what information they truly need, how often, and in what format. This approach demonstrates responsiveness and fosters trust, enabling the project manager to then tailor the communication management plan effectively to meet their specific requirements. Understanding their needs directly helps in crafting a precise solution, like perhaps a summary dashboard for executives while technical details go to engineers. Question 9. A project manager is facing a situation where a powerful stakeholder is consistently making demands that are outside the agreed-upon project scope, causing significant scope creep and potential delays. What is the project manager's primary responsibility in this situation? A. Accommodate all stakeholder demands to ensure their satisfaction. B. Reject all demands outright to protect the project scope. C. Facilitate a discussion to understand the stakeholders' underlying needs and explain the impact of their demands on the project objectives and constraints. D. Update the project schedule and budget to incorporate the new demands. Answer: C. Facilitate a discussion to understand the stakeholders' underlying needs and explain the impact of their demands on the project objectives and constraints. When a powerful stakeholder makes out-of-scope demands, the project manager's primary responsibility is not to simply accept or reject them, but to facilitate an open and transparent discussion. This involves understanding the stakeholders' core needs behind the demands and clearly explaining the implications of incorporating these changes on the project's scope, schedule, budget, and quality. This collaborative approach helps manage expectations, potentially leading to a compromise, a formal change request, or a reprioritization that balances stakeholder satisfaction with project success. For example, a stakeholder wanting an extra feature might be satisfied with a simpler, cost-effective alternative if the impact of their original request is clearly communicated. Question 10. In an agile project, a key business stakeholder frequently attends daily stand-ups and provides feedback directly to the development team, sometimes leading to confusion about priorities. How should the Scrum Master, or Project Manager, best manage this situation to ensure effective stakeholder engagement and team focus? A. Ask the stakeholder to only attend sprint reviews and product demos. B. Request the stakeholder to funnel all feedback through the product owner. C. Explain the purpose of the daily stand-up and reinforce the product owner's role as the primary voice for backlog prioritization. D. Create a separate feedback form for the stakeholder to submit all requests. Answer: C. Explain the purpose of the daily stand-up and reinforce the product owner's role as the primary voice for backlog prioritization. In agile frameworks like Scrum, the product owner is the sole authority for managing the product backlog and clarifying requirements, ensuring a single source of truth for the development team. While stakeholder engagement is crucial, direct intervention in daily stand-ups can disrupt focus and create conflicting priorities. The Scrum Master should politely explain the specific purpose of the daily stand-up, team synchronization, not stakeholder updates, and emphasize the product owner's role as the primary interface for all external input to maintain backlog integrity and team clarity. This helps guide stakeholders towards appropriate engagement channels, such as sprint reviews or dedicated refinement sessions. Question 11. A project manager has identified all stakeholders and documented their information in the stakeholder register. What is the next logical step in the stakeholder performance domain, according to typical project management processes? A. Develop the project management plan. B. Plan stakeholder engagement. C. Monitor stakeholder engagement. D. Manage stakeholder engagement. Answer: B. Plan stakeholder engagement. After identifying stakeholders and recording their details in the stakeholder register, the next logical step in the stakeholder performance domain is to plan how to effectively engage them. This involves analyzing their needs, interests, influence, and potential impact to develop appropriate strategies for their involvement throughout the project lifecycle. For example, understanding a key executive's high power and low interest would lead to a plan for concise, high-level monthly updates. This planning ensures that engagement activities are proactive and tailored, rather than reactive and haphazard. Question 12. A project manager is conducting a retrospective meeting for a completed project. One of the key lessons learned identified was that certain influential stakeholders were not adequately engaged during the planning phase, leading to significant rework later. What is the most important takeaway for future projects based on this lesson? A. Stakeholder engagement is a continuous process that requires adaptive strategies throughout the project lifecycle. B. All stakeholders should be managed with the same level of intensity and communication. C. Formal communication channels are always more effective than informal ones. D. The project manager should delegate all stakeholder management responsibilities to the project team. Answer: A. Stakeholder engagement is a continuous process that requires adaptive strategies throughout the project lifecycle. The scenario highlights that insufficient engagement early on led to rework, reinforcing a critical concept: stakeholder engagement is not a one-time activity but an ongoing process. It requires continuous monitoring, reassessment, and adaptation of strategies as the project evolves and stakeholder needs or influence change. For example, a stakeholder who was initially minimally involved might become critical during testing, necessitating a shift in engagement approach. Always remember that proactive, continuous engagement helps prevent costly issues and fosters positive relationships. Question 13. During a project manager observes that a critical stakeholder consistently opposes proposed changes, even when they align with project objectives. This behavior is creating significant friction and slowing down decision-making. Which strategy is most appropriate for the project manager to adopt? A. Isolate the stakeholder to minimize their negative influence. B. Communicate the project changes through a formal memo, bypassing direct discussion. C. Seek to understand the root causes of their resistance and explore common ground or potential benefits for them. D. Inform the project sponsor that the stakeholder is uncooperative and needs to be replaced. Answer: C. Seek to understand the root causes of their resistance and explore common ground or potential benefits for them. When facing consistent opposition from a critical stakeholder, the most constructive strategy is to proactively engage them to understand the underlying reasons for their resistance. This often involves open dialogue, active listening, and exploring common interests or demonstrating how the changes could ultimately benefit them, even if initially perceived negatively. For instance, a stakeholder resistant to a new process might fear job insecurity, which could be addressed by highlighting training opportunities and long-term career growth. Addressing their concerns directly and finding mutual benefit is key to turning resistance into support. Question 14. A project manager is developing a new project and needs to visualize the relationship between various stakeholders and their level of engagement. Which tool or technique would best help in classifying stakeholders based on their current and desired engagement levels? A. Stakeholder register. B. Power/interest grid. C. Influence/impact grid. D. Stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. Answer: D. Stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. The Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix is a valuable tool specifically designed to classify stakeholders based on their current engagement level, e.g., unaware, resistant, neutral, supportive, leading, and their desired engagement level for project success. This matrix helps the project manager identify gaps in engagement and devise targeted strategies to move stakeholders from their current state to the desired state. For example, if a key decision maker is currently unaware, but needs to be leading, the matrix helps plan specific actions like detailed briefings and active involvement. Question 15. The project sponsor has expressed concern that some key stakeholders are not receiving timely updates, leading to confusion and potential dissatisfaction. The project manager reviews the communication management plan and finds that updates are scheduled, but delivery seems inconsistent. What is the most appropriate action for the project manager to take next? A. Revise the communication management plan to increase communication frequency for all stakeholders. B. Conduct an audit of the communication channels and methods to identify where the breakdown is occurring. C. Delegate the communication task to the project team members and monitor their performance. D. Send an apology email to all stakeholders for the inconsistent updates. Answer: B. Conduct an audit of the communication channels and methods to identify where the breakdown is occurring. When stakeholders are not receiving timely updates despite a plan being in place, the most appropriate next step is to investigate the issue thoroughly by conducting an audit of the communication channels and methods. This helps to pinpoint the exact cause of the breakdown, which could be anything from technical glitches in email distribution to misinterpretation of communication responsibilities. For example, an audit might reveal that a crucial report is being sent to an outdated email address. Identifying the specific problem is essential before implementing effective corrective actions, ensuring resources are not wasted on generic solutions. Question 16. During the execution of a project, a new regulatory requirement emerges that significantly impacts the project's scope and deliverables, requiring engagement with a previously unidentified government agency. What is the immediate responsibility of the project manager? A. Immediately halt all project work until the new requirement is fully understood. B. Update the risk register with the new regulatory requirement. C. Initiate the Identify Stakeholders process to include the government agency and assess its influence and interests. D. Submit a change request to the Change Control Board for approval. Answer: C. Initiate the Identify Stakeholders process to include the government agency and assess its influence and interests. When a new regulatory requirement emerges, the immediate and crucial responsibility of the project manager is to treat the involved government agency as a new stakeholder. This means initiating the Identify Stakeholders process to formally include them in the stakeholder register and then performing a thorough stakeholder analysis to understand their specific requirements, influence, and impact on the project. Only after understanding this critical information can the project manager effectively plan how to engage them, manage the new requirements, and determine the appropriate actions like updating risks or submitting change requests. Question 17. A project manager is implementing a new system that will significantly change the way employees perform their daily tasks. Many employees are expressing anxiety and resistance to the upcoming changes. What is the best strategy for the project manager to manage this stakeholder group's concerns? A. Hold mandatory training sessions to force adoption of the new system. B. Focus on communicating the negative consequences of not adopting the new system. C. Engage employees early in the change process, providing clear communication, training, and opportunities for feedback and involvement. D. Provide incentives for early adopters and ignore those who resist. Answer: C. engage employees early in the change process, providing clear communication, training, and opportunities for feedback and involvement. When dealing with stakeholders resistant to change, particularly those whose daily work will be impacted, proactive and inclusive engagement is the most effective strategy. Engaging employees early, transparently communicating the reasons for the change, providing adequate training, and offering opportunities for their feedback and involvement in the transition process helps alleviate anxiety and build acceptance. For example, allowing users to test early versions and provide input fosters a sense of ownership, transforming potential resistance into support. People are more likely to embrace changes they feel they are a part of, rather than changes imposed upon them. Question 18. A project team is experiencing difficulties due to a lack of clarity regarding stakeholder expectations. Different stakeholders have conflicting views on key deliverables, leading to scope creep and rework. What should have been done more effectively in the initial stages of the project to prevent this situation? A. Develop a more detailed work breakdown structure, WBS. B. Create a comprehensive risk management plan. C. Conduct a thorough stakeholder analysis and document expectations in the stakeholder engagement plan. D. Implement a stricter change control process. Answer: C. Conduct a thorough stakeholder analysis and document expectations in the stakeholder engagement plan. Conflicting stakeholder expectations leading to scope creep and rework are often symptoms of inadequate stakeholder analysis and engagement planning in the early project stages. A thorough stakeholder analysis helps identify and understand each stakeholder's needs, expectations, and potential areas of conflict. Documenting these in the stakeholder engagement plan, alongside strategies for managing them, is crucial to align expectations from the outset. For example, if a marketing executive and a technical lead have different visions for a product, early analysis and negotiation could have reconciled these differences before development began. Question 19. The project manager of a construction project observes that key suppliers, who are critical external stakeholders, are consistently missing delivery deadlines, impacting the project schedule. What is the first step the project manager should take to address this issue from a stakeholder engagement perspective? A. Find alternative suppliers and terminate contracts with the current ones. B. Update the risk register with the supplier performance issues. C. Review their contracts for penalties and initiate legal action. D. Engage directly with the suppliers to understand the root causes of their delays and explore potential solutions collaboratively. Answer: D. Engage directly with the suppliers to understand the root causes of their delays and explore potential solutions collaboratively. When critical external stakeholders like suppliers are underperforming, the most effective first step from a stakeholder engagement perspective is to initiate direct communication to understand the underlying reasons for the delays. Rushing to find new suppliers or legal action can be costly and damage long-term relationships. By engaging collaboratively, the project manager might uncover issues such as payment delays, unclear specifications, or logistical problems that can be jointly resolved, fostering a more productive partnership. For instance, a supplier might reveal a temporary labor shortage that could be mitigated with a revised delivery schedule acceptable to both parties. Question 20. A project manager is working on a new product development project. The product is nearing launch, and there's a strong need to generate excitement and prepare the market. Which stakeholder group would be primarily responsible for communicating product value propositions and market readiness? A. Legal and compliance team. B. Finance department. C. Sales and marketing team. D. Operations team. Answer: C. Sales and marketing team. In a new product development project, the sales and marketing team is primarily responsible for communicating the product's value propositions, generating market excitement, and preparing the market for launch. They are the key stakeholders who connect the product to potential customers and ensure its successful adoption. For example, they would develop campaigns, create promotional materials, and train sales staff on product features and benefits. Their effective engagement is crucial for achieving business objectives beyond just project completion. Question 21. A project manager is responsible for fostering positive relationships with all stakeholders. Which of the following soft skills is most crucial for building trust and effectively managing stakeholder expectations? A. Technical proficiency. B. Negotiation and conflict resolution. C. Data analysis. D. Time management. Answer: B. Negotiation and conflict resolution. While all listed skills are valuable, negotiation and conflict resolution are paramount soft skills for building trust and effectively managing stakeholder expectations. Projects inherently involve diverse interests and potential disagreements, and the ability to skillfully negotiate compromises and resolve conflicts ensures that relationships remain positive and productive. For instance, if two departments have conflicting requirements, a project manager's negotiation skills can help them find a mutually acceptable solution, preventing escalation and maintaining collaboration. Mastering these skills helps maintain harmony and progress even amidst differing views. Question 22. A project manager needs to ensure that stakeholders are consistently aware of project progress and any emerging issues. Which approach supports continuous and transparent information flow, especially in an agile environment? A. Sending detailed monthly status reports via email. B. Holding formal quarterly review meetings with all stakeholders. C. Implementing regular, frequent informal communication channels and fostering open dialogue. D. Limiting updates to only critical milestones being achieved. Answer: C. Implementing regular, frequent informal communication channels and fostering open dialogue. To ensure continuous and transparent information flow, particularly in an agile environment, implementing regular, frequent informal communication channels and fostering open dialogue is highly effective. Agile emphasizes transparency and rapid feedback, which is best achieved through daily stand-ups, frequent demos, and open discussions rather than relying solely on formal, less frequent reports. For example, a quick daily check-in or an open Slack channel for questions allows for immediate clarity and builds a sense of shared understanding. This continuous engagement helps identify and address issues proactively, keeping stakeholders informed and involved. Question 23. The project manager of a large infrastructure project is facing significant pushback from local community groups who are concerned about the environmental impact. These groups have high power and high interest in the project. What engagement strategy is most appropriate for these stakeholders? A. Inform them of decisions after they have been made. B. Keep them satisfied with minimal engagement. C. Actively involve them in decision-making processes and collaboratively address their concerns. D. Monitor their activities but do not engage directly. Answer: C. Actively involve them in decision-making processes and collaboratively address their concerns. For stakeholders with high power and high interest, such as local community groups significantly impacted by a project, the most appropriate engagement strategy is to actively involve them in decision-making processes and collaboratively address their concerns. This approach, often termed collaborate or manage closely on engagement matrices, leverages their influence positively and builds trust by ensuring their perspectives are considered. For example, holding public forums and incorporating community feedback into environmental mitigation plans helps build consensus and reduces potential opposition, transforming them into project advocates. Question 24. A project manager is preparing for a crucial gate review meeting where the project's continuation will be decided. Several key executives, who are stakeholders, will be present. What is the most effective way to manage their expectations and ensure their support before and during the meeting? A. Send them the full project documentation a day before the meeting and expect them to review it. B. Only provide the good news updates to maintain a positive atmosphere. C. Pre-brief key executives individually to understand their perspectives, address potential concerns, and align on key messages. D. Focus solely on presenting technical details during the meeting, assuming they are fully informed. Answer: C. Pre-brief key executives individually to understand their perspectives, address potential concerns, and align on key messages. For crucial meetings with powerful stakeholders like executives, pre-briefing them individually is the most effective strategy for managing their expectations and ensuring their support. This proactive approach allows the project manager to understand their specific concerns, answer questions privately, address any potential opposition, and align on the narrative before the main meeting. For example, if an executive has budget concerns, a pre-brief allows the project manager to present the financial rationale concisely and gain their buy-in, ensuring a smoother group discussion. This personalized engagement significantly increases the likelihood of a successful outcome. Question 25. What is the primary benefit of proactive stakeholder engagement throughout the project lifecycle? A. It simplifies the project scope by eliminating unnecessary requirements. B. It guarantees the project will be completed under budget and ahead of schedule. C. It builds trust, fosters collaboration, and minimizes resistance, leading to increased project success. D. It reduces the need for formal communication by relying solely on informal interactions. Answer: C. It builds trust, fosters collaboration, and minimizes resistance, leading to increased project success. The primary benefit of proactive stakeholder engagement is its profound impact on project success by building trust, fostering collaboration, and minimizing resistance. By consistently involving stakeholders, understanding their needs, and managing their expectations from the outset, potential issues are identified and addressed early, preventing costly delays and rework. For example, a proactively engaged user group is more likely to embrace a new system, contributing to its successful adoption. This approach ensures that the project delivers true value and achieves its objectives with strong support.